Rock and roll, man. And so, the venture continues with the hope that I can help fellow creatives navigate the sometimes choppy and unstable waters of the tweet machine. My name is Lee Hall, and I'm an indie author from the UK. I'd like to thank you for joining me and also welcome you to this space for what is Twitter Coaching Sessions number 8. For this session, I'm going to talk about book promotion on Twitter, which is going to build upon the subject matter from some previous sessions. Session 3 in particular was about selling books in a more probably practical way, looking at engagement, increasing your presence, getting yourself in front of the right people to buy your books. But stay with me here because to me, selling and promoting are kind of two separate entities. Think of book promotion to kind of have no real end. It's an open loop or even a continuous exercise, whereas selling has a certain finality or conclusion. With a transaction, you've sold a book, it's done. With a sale, the matter's closed. But if you want to continually make people aware of your work, then book promotion is that vessel. Now, the idea of book promotion to me is continually or even gradually topping up that awareness of your works to potential readers over time. We all know the greatest struggle out there on social media as an author is making people aware of your product. And this kind of thing is best done over time. And there are indeed a plethora of applications for book promotion on Twitter. But first of all, it's okay to not know everything. And at the time of a book release, you can only kind of do what you know at the time. And of course, time is your friend here. I've said that before. And the wonderful thing about book promotion is that there are so many things you can do and do them at any time, no matter when you have learned them. And like I always say, it is never too late for a book to find success. Setting realistic and grounded expectations always helps. And quite honestly, right now, I'm happy with a single sale from a few days of tweeting. I think all of this is in the eye of the beholder. And if you can sell a book to someone you don't know on social media, then you're going in the right direction, even if it's just one or two, or even one in a certain period of time. Now, over some years, I've managed to bring in good numbers through selling books via Twitter. I sell most of my books through Twitter, through my Twitter presence, really. It's a case of topping up my presence along with making people aware of my books by using some book promotion methods that I'm going to lay out soon. 2 or so years ago, I'd sell a book maybe every 10 or so days, and now it's normally every few days, depending on how present I am on Twitter. So, promoting books on Twitter. Let us dive in. Now, I probably put out one major tweet a day about one of my books. There was a time where I did this a lot less, but having more books simply allows more scope to try and promote them. I tend to have 3 or so books out of my 7 that I consider my favorite to promote, and this is probably due to ease of promoting them. You know, some of my books are sequels in a series that not a lot of people have read, so they're kind of tricky to promote, so I tend not to, really. I tend to promote the first or second book in that series with a hope that promotion of that first or second book will hook in readers for the rest of the series. Promoting series as an indie author is a pain, but I don't generally do this to sell books. I do this because I enjoy writing, and the series kind of wrote itself, so I had no choice but to commit myself to it. And so I have 3 or so books out of my 7 that I consider my favorite. The Teleporter, Consistent Creative Content, and The Ghost Beside Me generally are those 3 which sell the best out of my books. They range in genre, they range in length. They're generally shorter books out of all my books. And so my order of the following series has kind of suffered for this. As I said, promoting sequels that only a few people have read is hard, and something I'd rather not dedicate my energy to. And part of Twitter is dedicating your energy to the right thing at the right time. Now, part of the reason why I have standalone books as well as a series is to try and get a maximum spread of readership. This taps into why I've written in different genres, to try and get as many people interested in my books as possible. Now, quite simply, having more books helps promote other books that you have on your shelf. Now, I don't say this with the intention to make anyone feel inferior with a single release, because I've been there. But basically, the more you have, the better you can do with promoting them. And so try to use that as a motivation to get writing more of them. Things do get a lot easier with more books. Those with fewer titles, perhaps spreading your promotional tweets wider will help for the time being. Instead of every day, maybe every few days, every 4 days, once a week. It's all based upon what you have at the time in terms of skill set and what you have on your shelf. But how exactly do I promote my books on Twitter? Well, it kind of never ends, and the first major factor of promotion is consistency and timing. And like I've said in previous sessions, finding the right time when your following is online is probably key to better visibility. If you are consistent, you will eventually find that right time just by tweeting. Now, to me, it's okay to turn up once a day or every other day, depending on how many books you've got, and plug that book of yours. Now, if you are active on the platform, the chances are you'll have new faces coming in every so often, new followers, and they are new eyes. And that is a new opportunity to maybe repeat certain things about your books, because it's okay to repeat certain things about your book. Repetition sometimes does hammer it home to someone to make them aware of your book, and they will be compelled to buy it. A huge factor in this is visual. So if you have a professionally designed cover, great. If you have a book banner for that cover, even greater. If you can put together as many visual things as possible about your books, this will help in grabbing the attention of potential readers. Now, it's okay to use the same visual things sometimes, as I've just said. Repetition is sometimes the key to reminding readers you're out there. I have a folder of book banners that I use to plug my books hundreds of times on Twitter, on other platforms, and putting something visual alongside some of the following ideas is what I do regularly to sell a book. Firstly, a basic description of my book. Basic will never fail you. 1 or 2 sentences from the blurb, or you can even go simpler than that. Some people resonate with that. Keep it as simple as you can. A quote or two from recent or older reviews. Now, this is kind of proof that your work has been read and enjoyed by someone. Using someone else's words to sell your words is always a great method. A powerful quote from the blurb alongside that review. Again, this kind of galvanizes the fact that your book is enjoyable or that readers will get something from it. You're backing it up with someone else's words beside your words. It's kind of teamwork. Something about the book that perhaps is not in the blurb but may resonate with a potential reader. Now, this is a huge revelation for me. Putting stuff out there on Twitter that is in your book that you might not have included in the blurb, it can go deeper than that as well. Writers will put together a nice blurb and try to make it as attractive and widely appealing as possible. But sometimes in that blurb, there isn't anything that tells you what this story is really about. Let's look at my debut novel, Open Evening, which is a fast-paced high school horror, but it's also semi-autobiographical, and it kind of relays the struggles that I went through in my high school days, and the school I went to was truly awful, and most of the people there were truly awful. And I managed to kind of funnel that into my writing experience, and not only was it great therapy getting over the fact that those days were so bad and they probably had some kind of effect on me, I'm okay now, and I put that into the book, and I will every now and then mention that on Twitter, and someone will resonate with it, and they'll be like, oh, I had really awful time at school as well, and I can relate to this. So there's your book's blurb, and then there's what is your book really about? That's something where there's an opportunity to sell it. Of course, something about the book that is notable, like my superhero comedy The Teleporter is an Amazon bestseller, featured by BookBub twice. Just putting that in a tweet will turn heads. I mean, have you been nominated for an award or something like that? Notable things sometimes help. Now, there are so many more ideas, and there's some in previous sessions. Again, I don't want to try and contradict anything I've covered in previous sessions. This stuff should hopefully help you and your book stand out to some extent. And standing out is kind of the key to selling anything on social media. But I want to go one step further. So all of this stuff I do on a daily basis, sharing something about my book, getting it out there, topping up the visual aspect, topping up the awareness. Now, there are so many more ideas I've laid out in previous sessions, but we're just going to go with these for now. And they work best for me, and there are more factors. And the next one is hashtags. Now, I tend to stay within either book or author subjects when it comes to hashtags. And if you get the wrong hashtag, it can pretty much bury a tweet. So for book promotion, we're probably looking at the likes of hashtag book Twitter, hashtag books, hashtag book TWT, hashtag writers community, hashtag writing community, hashtag indie books, hashtag indie authors. And you can even go genre specific. You can partner one of them with hashtag sci-fi, hashtag horror, hashtag YA. I tend to keep my hashtags 2 or so at a maximum. This works well for me. So timing, consistency, something visual, some hashtags, keeping things topped up on a daily basis or every few days. All of this stuff should help keep that awareness of your books topped up to potential readers about your work and any new followers coming in. And the once a day thing works well for me. It's up to you to kind of find out what works for you. Now, any more than one a day for me kind of feels too pushy, feels too salesy, and I'm not just there to sell stuff. I'm there to connect with people. I'm there to share ideas, to learn from others, and build community. And conversation first, sales second. Or as I like to say, social first, media second. It's literally in the name of social media. But what does that mean exactly? Now, all of this rests upon the shoulders of variety. And you could do what I've mentioned, but to make it way more inclusive and conversational, to increase your chances of visibility, this is what I normally do whilst subtly plugging my work. I like to include other people in my tweets. So let's just take the subject of sharing a recent review of your work, but instead, you put out a tweet asking for other writers to share a recent review of their work, along with some cover art, maybe a link, paired with a hashtag such as Writers Community, and you'll probably get some engagement. And if you were to then put your own review in the replies directly below your tweet, then it should get some good visuals. You'll get more people taking part. They'll see that you've also taken part, and they might feel compelled to take part. This all taps into that fifth element, incentive. And this kind of thing leads to sales, it leads to visibility and connections. Now, I do this on a daily basis, and there are scores of authors and content creators out there who are happy to contribute and share good things about their work to get themselves out there and to give themselves a plug. And I think the more you reach out, the more you build bridges, the more it will help you too. Giving to others will eventually help you too, but not just giving to receive. Giving because it feels good. Helping people is great. Being part of the Twitter writing community and contributing to it, even just a small way, is great, and it will help you big time eventually, and it will earn you trust. Now, for over a few years now, every weekend I tend to run a shameless self-promo post, which invites others to drop their links. This is great for engagement, it boosts your visibility, and every time I drop my own links in the post as well. And this brings me to another big tip. Near enough every day, if you are active on the platform, you'll find posts like this. Everyone's doing a shameless self-promo Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and so forth. I try my best to participate in some of these. It kind of makes me feel less guilty as to dropping my own links on my own tweets. And someone has opened the door for you, they've invited you. So it kind of gets rid of that guilty conscience that you're thinking, oh, all I'm doing is plugging my stuff every day. And as long as you don't feel like you're plugging your stuff every day, you're probably not. And, with a pro cover, enticing blurb, few quotes, you drop that on someone's self-promo post, you'll probably do quite well eventually. It's simply a case of consistency, economy, keep going, keep contributing, and the opportunity will come along. Promoting books on Twitter is a large subject, but even simple can sell. Every so often I will run a price promotion for just a day. Probably drop my ebooks to 99 cents or equivalent. And you can combine that with some of the stuff we've covered in this session, and it might just persuade a buyer to pick up your work. Like a lot of my advice, Twitter book promotion is a marathon, and as long as you pace things gradually, you will win the race, and you're only really racing against your own time. You're trying to beat your personal best of last month. For those with a smaller following, in this case, incentive and hashtags are your friend. And hashtags is indeed another subject for another time. Every day, ask yourself, what have I done to simply make people aware that I'm a writer and I have books available? Because making people aware that your books are available is our biggest struggle. And I know how it feels. Before I do go, here are some quick-fire tips to help promote your books on Twitter. Visual is key, like I've said. A pro cover, banners, small videos, trailers. This stuff catches the eyes of potential readers and new followers, and it's okay to share these more than once. Running a price promotion. If you have a price promo coming up, I tend to keep things quiet until the day of the promo. This will then hopefully entice some impulse purchases by then adding terminology such as exclusive for today only, or one-time deal. That should persuade just a few people to buy some books. Try and do one thing every day to promote your book, but this hasn't got to be a direct book plug. Even an obscure fact about your story might resonate with someone. Remember, go back to the blurb, and then the alternative blurb. What is your book really about? Connect with other authors in your genre. This is super helpful when it comes to seeing how others promote books that might be similar to yours. This can provide ideas of how you can promote your books in the future. Making friends is sometimes the key to success on Twitter, and staying close to those in your genre will help. Small numbers are still good numbers. Just a single sale from a few days of tweeting is good in my eyes. Keep it going. It gets better eventually, and especially for those who don't give up. And so I hope this session has been of some use to you. You can find a whole stack of resources via my blog, which is linked below. Of course, book promotion is covered in detail in my guidebook, Consistent Creative Content, from the free promo to the various methods I've used over the years. As always, thank you for listening, and join me next time as I talk all about hashtags. Peace out, rock and roll, man.